Well, I guess it was just a matter of time before I was going to make a video like this. For the last 2 nights, I have been dealing with mice in the school bus. And for the ones that are just finding this video, I have been full-time traveling around these states, living in my vehicles, just exploring nature. I was living in Jeeps for 3.5 years, and I've been living in this bus right here for about 9 months. And when you live in vehicles and you live outdoors, it is expected you're going to deal with a critter situation. And it's not my first time dealing with a critter situation. It is in the bus, but I've dealt with mice in my Jeeps before. And well, although I have stopped my travels because now I have 40 acres of land that I'm going to start homesteading on and start off-grid living on. And that's where I am right now, is at my new property. And I've only been here for a week and already am having to deal with mice. The last 2 nights, I had to deal with mice in the school bus. Didn't expect it to be so soon as I got to the property, because I was going to mouse-proof the bus eventually, but I've just been so busy. But now I've got to mouse-proof this bus, because I am not going to live in my bus with disease-infested rodents. So the first night, I didn't know about the mouse, but when I woke up the next morning, I saw mice droppings all over my kitchen counter. And, well, I preach about this all the time on my videos about living in your vehicles. Do not leave dirty dishes out. Do not leave crumbs on your counter. Like, make sure the inside of your bus is always clean. And I've always been really good at that, about making sure all my dishes are cleaned, put away. I wipe out my whole entire sink so there's no food residue inside of the sink and everything. I did have my dry food all stored in one of my cabinets, but we'll get into that later. So, you know, I've been very good about keeping my bus clean, and my Jeeps when I lived in my Jeeps. Mainly because of rodents and critters, but also because I don't want ants getting inside of my bus. Well, the first night, because I've been really, really busy over the last few weeks, and like I said, I've been here at the property for a week now, and being here at the property, I've just been nonstop on the go. And before I got here to the property, I was the same way, nonstop on the go. So it's been very, very busy. And so that night I was so exhausted and so tired that I did leave some dirty dishes in my sink. And I think it's the first and only time that I've done that since I've had the bus. So the next morning I wake up to find mice droppings all over my kitchen counter. So I knew I had a mouse in there. But I was hoping the mouse just came in, visited for the evening, didn't find anything, and then just left. Well, the second night, I'm laying in my bed, I'm watching TV, and all of a sudden I see this mouse crawling out through some cracks from my ceiling. And I like lean up in the bed, and I'm like, oh, wonderful. And he heard me talk, and so he scurries down my curtain, and then scurries across my kitchen counter onto the floor and then across the floor. So I knew I had a new roommate. So I got no sleep whatsoever that night because I knew I had a mouse in the house. But yesterday I went and bought some mouse traps. I also bought this mouse shield foam right here, which is going to go in the cracks. I also bought some steel wool that's going to go in some holes that I have around the bus and everything. And I did a lot of research on how to stop these critters from coming into your vehicle. So there's going to be a few things besides the steel wool and this foam right here, because you got to also think you have the dashboard, and with the dashboard, you know, they can come up on your tires, go through your hood, and that's the last thing you want, is them rummaging through your hood because of the wires and everything like that. That could be expensive once they start chewing onto those wires. But they can come through your hood and come down your dashboard and then come into the bus. So that was my biggest concern, was how am I going to keep them from getting underneath the hood, coming down through the dashboard? I figured that out after doing a lot of research, tons, because I don't want to have to deal with this again. So I'm going to try to avoid this by all means. I do have tire covers on my bus right now, and I thought that would have deterred them, but realistically the tire covers do not cover the back of the tires, so they can still crawl up the back of the tires. I do have I have a rodent repellent, and it does some flashing lights, and it makes that ultrasonic sound that is supposed to deter rodents and stuff. And this one right here that I have, it connects to your battery, and no, it does not drain your battery on your hood. So I do have this that I will be hooking up to my battery today. I've used this before on one of my Jeeps. I do have, oh, I don't know where it is. I'll have to find everything, but I do have the Mr. Gus rodent packs, and they're basically like peppermint and stuff like that. Right now I have 2 of those underneath my hood, and then I have that spray, but I also bought that Tomcat spray, and both of the sprays are not harmful to pets or kids or humans. So because I do have a senior dog that lives in the bus with me, and obviously when I mouse proof this bus, I have to put her into my #1 biggest consideration, because I don't want anything being harmful to her or poisonous to her. So let's mouse proof the bus. And if you're watching this video, you know, the way I'm going to mouse proof the bus, it's going to be the same for if you're living in a vehicle, an RV, a bus, tent, I guess. I don't know about tent. Maybe some of these things can help with the tent. But even a house, because I'm sure people that live in sticks and bricks in houses, in neighborhoods, they have to deal with critters too. So hopefully what I'm doing today will give you guys some insights and help you guys on dealing with critters also. Can't believe I'm making a video like this. This is freaking hilarious. Here's my baby right here that I was talking to you guys about. So say hello. Okay, so one of the sprays that I was talking about, it's actually Grandpa Gus's. So, and I just get these on Amazon, and they normally come with these little packs that you just put around everywhere also. I used this religiously when I lived in my Jeeps. I would spray these around my tires. I'd lift up the hood of my Jeep and I would spray it all underneath the hood. And to be quite honest with you, I had 2 Jeeps. My first Jeep, I had dealt with a critter in it. The second Jeep, I dealt with a chipmunk inside of it. I still have my second Jeep. But in 4 years of traveling, I think it's pretty good, because I used this the whole 4 years. I think it's only pretty good that in each vehicle, I only had to deal with a critter one time in each vehicle. So then I also have this that I just now bought. It is Tomcat rodent repellent. And this seems to be a lot stronger smell, to be honest with you. And this one is safe for use around kids and pets. It's long lasting, rain resistant. And last night I just sprayed this around the outside of my bus, everywhere, sprayed my tires and sprayed underneath my hood. So those are the 2 sprays. Then I bought this steel wool right here that I will be putting into some of the holes that I see around this bus. And basically, the steel wool, you know, you can pull it apart and stuff, and then you could stuff it into the holes. So basically what this is for is, it's wire, it's steel. So the mice and critters cannot chew through this right here. So meaning they're not going to be able to have access in those holes and everything, because they won't be able to chew through this right here. I got this from Ace Hardware too. You can probably get it from Walmart or Amazon or Lowe's, Home Depot. And this was only like $5. And it came with a lot, 2, 4, 6 different ones. Nope. Oh, 24 of these little tabs in here. So that's pretty nice. And then I got that foam. So, which we're about to talk about what I used that foam for. So, it basically, you see my TV right here, my bed. And so, like I said, I was watching TV. So, I was looking this way, watching TV. Up here, where these panels are, and this is the roof, there's a large gap, large crack, all the way on top of this panel, or running board, or whatever it's called, and in between the ceiling. And I have another panel over here on this side. And so that's where this little mouse came through, was this crack. Because I watched him as I was watching TV, watched him come through this crack, and then he came down, got on the curtain, came down the curtain, onto my counter, and then down on the floor. These little critters, because I was amazed at how he was able to run down this right here, and also how he was able to cling onto the curtain and run down the curtain. So they're pretty good about clinging onto things and being able to run up stuff. And yeah, like I did not know that they could run up wood and curtains, and I've never really had to deal with mice or anything like that. So that's something I'm gonna have to put into consideration, is they can pretty much crawl up everything. So right now I think I'm gonna do it last, actually spray the foam in here, because I don't know if it has a smell to it, and I don't want there to be a strong smell in here. So I want to be able to take me and my dog outside and let it air out and stuff. So we'll do that later. We'll actually do that last. And right now we're going to do some of the steel wool stuff or whatever. But yeah, that's crazy. They can squeeze through the tiniest things also. So, and that's I feel like it's tiny, but it's also a big little space up there, or crack. So this is what I'm talking about. So you guys can see, and it's all the way down on both sides. Both sides. Little one, what you think? You gonna help Mama? You gonna help Mama mouse-proof our house? She's like, no. I'll watch you. So yeah, see, it just goes all the way down. So up here is where I'll probably put some of the steel wool stuff or whatever. And then there's a couple of these things at the bottom on the ground, and there's openings there too. I might be going a little overboard today on mouse proofing this, but I don't think it's overboard. I'd rather go overboard than not enough to keep these critters out, because it's just the beginning. Okay, not sure if you guys can see me or not, but down here is a big gap. So we're just gonna pull this apart a little bit. Ow. Be careful. It is pokey. So we'll just pull this apart a little bit. We're gonna stuff it up in this hole. Looks like that's coming apart a little bit. All right. Easy peasy. Easy peasy. Okay, so one of the other things I wanted to mention also is it's not good to have so much clutter. And while I'm trying to do this transition of from living the van life into homesteading and moving a lot of my stuff over here to the property, I am guilty of, I did have a lot of clutter in the bus. So down here where I just put that steel wool at, and you can see my little one's bed, all behind her bed I did have a bunch of stuff, clutter behind that. I had like some shoes, and there was just a bunch of clutter. So I took all that clutter out because, well, that is underneath the dashboard also. And then I wanted to point out this. So here's my cabinet right here, and the top part of my cabinet, this part, I know it's a little dark. Let's see if I can turn this light on. Ooh, okay. Oh, I forgot I had a light in here. That would help. There, ta-da! So, up here, all this up here, I had all my dry food. So, I had like all my canned food, my pastas, my, just all my dry food, my bread, my crackers, everything was up here. What food didn't go in my refrigerator and freezer, all the rest of the food was up here. And well, it does have a backing to this, but they can still get in if they want. And I did check all my food that was up here. There were no holes in the boxes or packages or anything like that. So what I did is I went to the Dollar General store and I bought some storage containers, and I took all my food out of here that wasn't cans. I left the canned food in here. So all my food that wasn't cans, because they can't get into cans, I took out and I put in these storage containers right there. And it has a top, as you see. So that's gonna keep any, because these critters, these mice, they have some very strong noses. And they can smell even things, food in boxes, food and plastic. They can smell everything. So I thought it was smart to take all the food out of here, put it in some storage containers that had a locking top on it. So now it A, makes it difficult for them to get at that food, and B, they can't smell it in the locking storage container. ideally. But hey, positive thing is I got some more space now, so I can put some more things up here. Little one, what you think? You say these little critters, they are not welcomed here. I am the only critter that is allowed in this home. See, Mama is not allowed to have any more pets. What do you think? Look at her. I think she's traumatized over there. She knew that mouse was here too. Look at her. She's looking. She's like, there better not be any more mouse in our house. Real quick, because I got to go take a ride into town to go get 2 other things for this mouse proofing stuff. And I'll talk to you guys about it while I'm driving to these stores. But I wanted to mention real quick, because some people may not know this. When trying to get rid of critters, mice, rats, whatever, from your vehicles, your house, just trying to get rid of them, period, I highly suggest do not use poison. Don't use poison. So don't put poison, like rat poison, mice poison, or any of that stuff around your vehicles or your house or your structure or your property or whatever. Because the reason why I say do not use poison is number one, is the critters will go and eat the poison, and the poison doesn't kill them right away. So meaning they can go and eat the poison and then crawl into your vehicle or your house or wherever and have the poison in them, and they end up just dying inside of your structure, in your vehicle or your house or wherever. And so meaning if they just die inside of your place, you don't know that they died inside of their place, because they could die in the wall, the ceiling, the floor, the dashboard, you know, anywhere. So then that means you have a dead rodent in your place. So meaning, it's probably going to start smelling, and then just having a dead rodent in your place is not healthy or good. Another reason why I say do not put poison around your property, outside, on the land, you know, if you're doing this off-grid living, or even at your house, in your backyard or something like that, is because of wildlife. Because these critters could eat the poison that you laid out around your property or outside. And same thing, they eat the poison, they run off and die in the middle of the land or your backyard or whatever, and a deer could come through, or a coyote, or a bear, you know, wherever you live at, even though I think bears are like unicorns. Never seen one. So, if wildlife comes by and sees the dead critter laying on the ground, the wildlife is probably going to eat the critter. And if it eats the critter, then that means it's eating the poison also. So that means the deer or the bear or whatever wildlife it was just ate the mouse with poison, and the poison is inside of their body now also. So that's going to kill the wildlife too. So you have to put that into consideration. Like, I honestly do not know why they make poison for these critters, because people don't put the wildlife into consideration, and the poison do not kill them ASAP. They eat it, run off, and then God knows where they die, and God knows what finds them and eats them with the poison in it. You get it. All right, I'm gonna go take a ride into town and get 2 other things that I think are gonna be the most important things for this mouse proofing. Heading to these 2 stores to go get some more stuff for So one of the things that I'm going to go pick up right now is the last 9 months that I've been traveling in my school bus, my Skoolie. Obviously, I had to store my Jeep. And when I stored my Jeep, it was at my friend's property that lives in the desert, and meaning there's lots of critters at his property. There's lots of mice, pack rats, all that stuff, and I knew that. So I did a lot of investigating on how to keep critters out of my Jeep, especially when it was stored. So what I did while my Jeep was stored is I found these string of lights, and they were solar powered, and they were flashing red lights. You could have them flashing, or they could just be steady on. So I had them flashing because I've been told, and also researching, that flashing red lights is good to keep critters out of your vehicles. And so I bought 2 strands of these red lights that were solar powered, and that's how they stayed on and everything, was because of the solar. I didn't have to worry about them being plugged in or anything like that. So the 2 long strands of lights that I bought, I wrapped them around my tires of the Jeep, and then I also just wrapped them all underneath my Jeep. Then that Grandpa Gus stuff that I was telling you guys about, and that I showed you the bottle of spray, I got a bunch of those Grandpa Gus rodent repellent packets, and I put them throughout my whole entire Jeep. And while my Jeep was stored on his property, that there's definitely critters on, and every time I would go back to my friend's property, the first thing I would do is pop the hood on my Jeep, investigate everything underneath the hood of my Jeep, and then I would look all through my whole entire Jeep for any kind of droppings, rat droppings, mouse droppings, any kind of droppings, and never ever had an issue with anything getting inside of this Jeep while it was stored. Granted, I did go back every once in a blue moon, and I would drive the Jeep while I was back visiting, but I think like one time there was like 4 months that I didn't go back, and it was just stored there on his property, not being touched, not being turned on, no activity whatsoever inside the Jeep, and no critters. So one of those things either worked, or the combination of both of them worked. So I'm going to go try to find some red lights right now. Hopefully. That's one of the things. And then we'll talk about the other thing, which I think is going to be highly, highly effective. We'll talk about that later. All right. I'm back at the compound. Well, one thing about being in the high desert and high elevation is the weather can change at the drop of a dime. So that it did. Like right now it has stopped, but just came back here to really high winds, very high winds. And also the temperature this week is supposed to drop down in the 20s in the next couple of days. So wouldn't it be cool if I could wake up to some snow? But anyways, I did find some lights, but they're not flashing red lights. I looked at Home Depot, Lowe's, and Walmart, and I was able to get these changing color lights. I've already put them on the bus because I was out here fighting high winds doing this. So I couldn't film myself doing that right now. But so I only bought 1 pack for right now because I just wanted to see how bright they were, if they worked, and all that stuff. I didn't want to waste my money because I know I can get those flashing lights on Amazon, but I don't really have a physical address yet. I'm still working on the address part so we can have things delivered and everything. So this is a temporary thing. It was only $9 for this rope of lights right here. And they're USB, so they don't draw a whole lot of power, which is good. It's still daylight right now, so I can't really see exactly how bright they are. But they don't flash on one color. They only flash on multiple colors, which I think will probably work. But I still would like to have solar lights so I don't have to always plug them in before I go to bed and all that. I might forget, you know. But the other thing that I was telling you guys about is, hopefully I can show you guys real quick before the wind picks back up. I went and got some of this aluminum flashing stuff. And so what I'm going to do with this aluminum stuff is I'm going to wrap it around the bottom of each tire, because, well, critters cannot climb up aluminum. I've done my research. And actually, the way I found out about this is there's a company that actually makes these aluminum things that go around the bottom of your tires to keep critters out. But for 4 tires, it was $120, when you could just go to Home Depot or Lowe's and buy a roll yourself for lesser than half of that price. And that's what I did. So this roll right here cost me, I think, $49, I think is what it was. And if I did the measurements right and the math and all that, this one roll should be able to do all 4 of my tires. And let's face it, that's how the critters get in, is they climb up your tires. So I'm going to take this aluminum, cut it and measure it, and wrap it completely around all 4 of my tires. And can't do that today though, because of the winds. So I'm gonna have to do it in the morning. But exciting thing, I'll give you guys a sneak peek of this. Look at all this rock. Not gonna tell you what that's for, but I picked that up at Home Depot today too. So you guys will just have to wait for another video on that. All right, well, I got the lights on. I'm gonna spray out here one more time. And I think that's just gonna hold me down for tonight. Tomorrow morning, well, tomorrow it calls for very high winds, like up to 50-mile gust winds. But ideally in the morning, first thing I'm gonna do before I get out of my pajamas is come out here and do these tires before the wind starts. I think I've covered almost every possible way that you can mouse-proof or rodent-proof a vehicle. Oh, wow, you can see how windy it was. My hair is a hot mess. Okay. Looks like Christmas out here. Now that it's dark, we can see. Oh, I have a motion sensor light. Oh, I'm over here pointing like you guys can see. But the white light on the ground is motion sensor light. And we have the lights going on under there. And over here. This looks retarded. It really looks like it's Christmas or something right now. It is what it is. And I've only done the front because, like I said, I only bought 1 strand because I wanted to test it out before I spent money or wasted money on 2 strands for the back. But let's face it, the front is where those little critters normally end up. So this looks retarded. I'm just laughing. So now I got these flashing lights. Oh, that's so hilarious. Good morning. It's the next day. In my pajamas, somewhat. So, I did get up really early this morning, like around 6, somewhere between 6 and 6:30. And I came out here and started measuring this aluminum right here for the tire, because we're supposed to have a really, it's already picking up right now, very windy day today. So I couldn't film myself measuring out the aluminum for the tire and cutting it because it was dark. And I really was just trying to beat the wind today, but we're gonna see how that goes. But anyways, I have these right here because, you know, you have to be able to cut through the aluminum. And so I was using these. Y'all don't make fun of me because I forgot what these are called. But I was able to cut through the aluminum with this. I took my tape measure and I measured around my tire. And then I rolled out the aluminum and measured out that. And it fits perfectly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this mallet right here, ideally, and I'm going to bang that down into the ground a little bit because I want to make sure that the critters definitely cannot get underneath the aluminum. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I'm only going to film myself doing one tire. No need to film myself doing all four because this video is already long anyways. So, yeah. Alright, I'm going to try to get this done. This wind is already picking up pretty bad. So, I don't know if this is really gonna work because this is some thin aluminum. Yeah, it's not gonna work. So I think my other option is I'm gonna have to get a little shovel and maybe dig. I have to get a little shovel and dig a hole for it to go in and then cover it with the sand. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. This is fun. Doing this in high winds right now. Dirt blowing all in my face. But it has to be done. Alright. So I'm going to get underneath my bus and get the back side of the tire too. So, you guys can't see me do that. So, I don't really have to go very deep. So, I think this will be fine.